Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you today. We have been working on this Bally Circus electromechanical pinball machine from way back in the day that a customer brought us and wanted us to fix up. And we've been filming videos of it. So if you didn't see the first video, we basically looked through it all and tried to play it. It didn't play. So we're going to work through it a little bit today, see if we can figure out why it won't play. And if you've got a similar era Bally pinball machine, maybe this will help you out. So let's get into it. Now, we tried playing it before and it was kind of doing its thing a little bit, but it wouldn't kick the ball out. And the score reels, the one over there isn't resetting right, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's just been sitting a long time. It's got some problems. We're going to do some touch-up paint on this playfield at some point. We're going to clean the back box and all the score reels at some point. But I think the first thing we're going to do is work down in the bottom of the cabinet, because that's kind of where the power goes first and the first step in getting it reliable again. So we're going to end up cleaning all of the switches, the stepper motors, the score motor, all of that, and see what all we run into. And what's not working right, because we want it to be reliable for the guy for the future. So hopefully this will help it be reliable. It's got 50 years worth of dirt on it, and they're also on all the switches in it, so that's going to be a problem. So I'm going to turn it off, and then I'll unplug the playfield, and we'll put it over here against the wall and get down in the bottom of it where we can work on things. Alright, so if you saw the earlier video, we already cleaned all this out. It had all kinds of paper thrown all over the place from where mice and rats had been in it, and we vacuumed it all out, cleaned it up pretty good, and so now it's back in presentable shape. We've had issues before on these Ballys. I've got it unplugged right now, or it's not plugged in the wall. We've had issues before on these Ballys where the fuse holders weren't very good, but these ones seem like they're holding the fuse pretty good. So that probably won't be an issue. Chimes look good. All the relays look good. This one that's kind of charred, that's the lock relay, so it's just on all the time, so it gets a little more hot than the other ones. We're missing all of our little pieces of paper that tell you which relay's which. A little bit of a pain. Kind of hard to track that down sometimes. It tells you in the manual usually, but we don't have the manual, but it may be online, so I'll see what I can find. Then we've got the two stepper units here. They look pretty good, pretty clean. And the score motor, yeah, it's just a nice clean machine. Everything's present and looks good. Sometimes you run into stuff like this. The reason this is like this is it's probably just extra wiring that was in the machine for different options for the coin door and things like that. So while that looks like, oh man, something's missing, it's probably not, because it was probably like that from the factory. But we'll figure that out later. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is we're just trying to clean all this to get it all working. So basically in these machines, there are tons of switches on these relays. So if these switches, if the contacts on the switches get dirty, whenever that relay pulls in, even though the contacts touch each other, they don't conduct electricity because there's dirt in the way. So we have to just go through with a needle file and clean every one of the contacts. And we got to get it where when they touch, they move a little bit, just so that it has kind of like a wiping action. And all the ones that are open, so like if the relay's off, the switches that are open, when you pull in the relay, they should close. If there's any that are closed, when you pull in the relay, they should open. And if there's any that are three-way, the middle blade should touch one and then the other whenever it alternates. So that's all we're going to do. Now, if you get one of these, you don't want to go through and adjust every single freaking switch. Just if you see one that obviously is way out of adjustment, it's not working, it's not touching, yeah, adjust it so that it touches. But if you see one where you think, oh, maybe it should move a little bit more or whatever, just leave it alone, because it's worked its way into that position over the years, and that's probably how it likes it. If you go through and adjust every one, you're going to end up with issues. Don't do it. Let's see if this is our 455 bulb. It is. There is a huge problem going on in the electromechanical pinball world right now, people. They have stopped making these bulbs. These are the flashers, the 6-volt flashers. So there's a little bar in there that heats up whenever the power runs through it. And so it turns on with the power running through it, and then that bar heats up and moves a little bit because of the heat. And whenever it does, it turns the light off, and then it connects back whenever it cools off, and it makes the bulb blink. Well, they use them in the games as like a delay relay or for the tilt and stuff, so that it basically kills the game for a minute or 3 seconds until the light, while the light's on, and then whenever it goes off, it makes the relay turn back off. So they use it like as a timer. But they also use them in the back glass to make like the title blink and stuff. So we got a real problem where they stopped making those, and those bulbs are getting real expensive because it's just whatever's the old stock is laying around. They make an LED one, but they don't look as cool. It wouldn't work in that circuit anyway. But the LED ones, they consistently blink. Doesn't look as cool. It's not analog. It's digital. Ugh, God. So anyway, that's our big problem, people. Somebody needs to get a hold of the people in China and tell them to open the factory back up on them 455s. Okay, so I'm going to go through and start cleaning the switches. If I'm running anything that's all messed up, I'll film it for you, but it's really, there's not much to it. I'll show you a close-up of one just to make sure that you know what I'm talking about. I do this on about every video. We'll get it brighter here. Let me find one that's got all three of them on it. I don't see one, but this is a good one here. Okay, so this switch here is open right now. See the two contact points? The one that you can see there? See the two blades? So it's open right now, so when this relay pulls in, power runs through it. It's a magnet, basically it's an electromagnet, and it pulls this plate down. And when it does, see how the big blade that you can see there is touching the one to the left of it, the smaller blade? See how it makes it the smaller blade move? That's properly adjusted. So the middle set, same. Okay, and then this set here is a make break. So right now, it's touching this small blade on the end. The large blade is in the middle, and then there's another small blade on the left. So when it pulls in, it no longer is touching the blade on the right and is now touching the blade on the left. Make break. So that's what we want to do. There is also normally closed switches, like this one. It's closed right now. So if the relay goes in, it opens. See? So we just need to go through, clean all those, and make sure that they look like they changed their state like they should. And if I find anything interesting, I will film it for you. Okay, folks, I worked through them all. I saw a couple that look like they weren't touching, but it's, it's after you're cleaning them too. I use a file like this. This is an old worn out file. You don't want to use one that's like crazy abrasive. But sometimes after you do that, you move one of the blades a little bit if you're not holding them right, So I did find a couple that looked like they weren't touching, but nothing specific. And since we're missing all of the things that tell us what each relay is, that's going to be a little challenging. But I think we got them all how they're supposed to be. The next thing is the score motor, and I did it too while I was at it. I was on a roll. So the score motor, again, if you've seen these videos, it's always the same, basically, but if what we found is we get a lot of people that watch. We get several types of people that watch. Let me break down our viewer base. Some of the people that watch really love these things, and they'll watch 1,000 videos. That's my people. That's my people. So they're regulars, or they might be watching 10 different channels of people working on stuff. Of course, we love all those people. And then some of the people, they find these videos because they're looking, maybe they've got a Bally Circus and they're looking to repair theirs. So they find this video on how to repair a Bally Circus, not realizing that any Bally machine is exactly the same, and technically working on any well, I shouldn't say exactly the same. Any Bally machine is very similar, and working on any electromechanical pinball, the concepts are all the same. So we go through the same things over and over and over again on these videos, and that may be tiring to some people, but the reason that we do that is because somebody's going to find this video that's got a Bally Circus that they're trying to repair, and if I don't tell them every little thing in this video, they won't figure out that if you watch the video of me working on the Bally Freedom, it's basically the same stuff. So some of it's redundant, but that's what the skip button's for. That's why you can fast forward ahead. Okay? So I hope everybody, what do they call that? Humors me a little bit whenever we talk about the same things over and over again, but it's helpful to a lot of people. I get people emailing, calling, posting messages every day, several people, saying that the videos help them fix their pinball machine. And that's ultimately one of the reasons that we're doing this, because we want people to save all of them. Save all of the games, people. All right, so the score motor basically has all these little cams here, and then the switches sit on top of it. So it's kind of like the relays, but it's got a timing to it and an action to it, you know, where it might, this one may make them touch once, this one has little bumps, so maybe they touch 3 times as it spins around, etc., etc., etc. And so it's the exact same thing. You've just got all these little blades, and you have to get them all clean. You can see I've cleaned them up a little bit. And then you have to turn the thing and just watch them. So I may turn it around 3 or 4 times as I do each cam, and just see if it looks like they're all touching and doing their thing, etc. Now, whenever you are working on a score motor like this, because some of them are flat, you know, and it spins around. The Chicago coin one we did recently was flat at Gunsmoke. A lot of the Gottlieb games, it's a flat platter where it's instead of this line of them. On this type that's got the switch stacks on top, a common problem is one of these switches on the very top will be messed up. What'll happen is somebody will push something in the game, and it'll bend the blade way up in the air. It may be bent straight up in the air, right? Because they're storing something inside the cabinet. So they, through the coin door, they push the manual up in here, and it hits the blade and bends it. And sometimes that'll kill the whole game. Ain't that crazy? I saw that. Looks like it's fine though. Sometimes if it's heated up like that, it's starting to melt the plastic coil, but it looks like the plastic sleeve, but this one's still moving, so everything's fine. Okay. So I went through and I cleaned all those. I think I've got them all. Usually you don't have to adjust those because there's a lot more action on them. So what I mean by that is, on the relays, if you look at how far the switches move, it's like maybe a 1/16 of an inch. I apologize to our foreigners watching. We love you, but I don't know millimeters, so maybe a 1/16 of an inch. But on these, if you look at the bump on it, it's more like maybe even 1/4 of an inch. So it moves 3 or 4 times as far as the relays do, which means that the switches don't have to be as close together. It doesn't even have to be as precise, because it's going to move that whole stack of switches pretty far. And the platters that move too, like the Gottliebs, that's usually the same on those too. Whenever it hits that switch, it moves it a lot. On these relays, it's much more precise. It just barely moves it. So usually you don't have to adjust those unless, again, there's some that are on the top that are bent all up. But you do have to clean them. So we cleaned them. So I think the next thing I'll do is actually check these fuses. I'm going to look in the manual and see what the fuses should be, and then I'm going to take a Sharpie and I'm going to write the value of the fuse right in front of them so that if somebody has to replace them, they'll know what they're supposed to be. The little piece of paper that's supposed to be there is long gone. The rats got it, and then we vacuumed it all up. So let me check that, and then what we like to do on the fuses is pull one out. Like I said, we had problems with these before on these Bally's, and then you need to squeeze them together a little bit more so that they hold the fuse a little better. You got to be careful when you do this. You could break them pretty easy, and just get it where they're tightly holding the fuse. All right. If they do break or you got a problem, you can replace them. These type of fuses are still used in a lot of marine stuff. So like in boats, they still use a lot of these kind of fuses. It sounds like a horrible idea to me, but I see them all the time, and they mention that they're for marine use. So I don't know. Maybe they call it that because they don't have to be they don't have to pass the same regulations or something if it's marine use, and they don't actually use them on marine boats. I don't know, but I see those type of open fuses with the glass cartridges in it often referred to as marine equipment. So whatever. All right, so let me look up the schematics, and I'll see what they're supposed to be. Now on the schematics, it won't actually tell you. You have to look in the schematics, find the fuse, find the color of wire going to it, and that's how you can track it down. Okay, folks, so I drew it in. There we go. And they were all the correct size fuses. By the way, I got the story from the customer of where this thing came from, finally. I know the whole story. I'll share it with you in a later video. Okay, so now we're going to work on the stepper units. This is the coin unit, and it looks pretty good, actually. Look at it. So usually these get all dirty and everything. This one's not that bad at all. So what I do is I take them apart. I clean off the contacts with light sandpaper, and then I put a little synthetic grease on it, and then I put it back together. I have been informed by several people that this is not the way they would do theirs. They say, so I had one gentleman, and by the way, when I talk about stuff like this, I'm not saying that I hate these people or anything. I'm just saying that they disagreed with my way of doing it, and so I can publicly comment on it. So several people told me, oh no, you should never use sandpaper. And I had one gentleman tell me that sandpaper is only for wood because the sand falls off of it and gets all over everything. Well, when we say sandpaper, we don't necessarily mean big old coarse thick paper with sand on it. I'm usually using something like this. And he was saying it's called something else. Maybe it is, I don't know. But it says on the back, SP 320 grit. Okay? Now, what does SP stand for? I assumed it was sandpaper, but I've been informed I'm wrong about that. So, I don't know. Maybe it means something else. So to that gentleman, I appreciate you watching. Thanks for your comment. And you can use whatever you'd like on yours. But on mine, I'm going to use sandpaper. It cleans it up very well. I had several people tell me to use Scotch-Brite pads instead. I agree that on yours, you could use Scotch-Brite pads. I think that would work just fine on your machine. I had other people tell me that I could use a big pink eraser. I agree that you could use a big pink eraser on your machine. None of that changes the fact that I'm going to use sandpaper on mine, but do what you need to do. I mean, I'm not there telling you how to do it. I'm just telling you how I did it. Okay? So that's the deal. So basically, we just need to make sure this thing moves smoothly. Like I said, this one's nice and clean. You could probably get away with not doing anything. But I'm just going to clean it up a little bit, get it a little shinier where you don't have the, you don't see the grease tracks on it there, the minor stuff, and then we'll put it back on. The only thing that this is used for, the coin unit, is to tell the game if there is a 1-player, 2-player, 3-player, or 4-player game started. That's pretty much all it is used for, unless I'm forgetting something. So one of these wires goes to, see how there's 4 sets of wires on the left, the top, and the right? So one set turns on the lights in the back box that say 1 to 4 can play. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 4 of those are just for a light bulb. And then the other 4, I guess, have something to do with tripping a relay that makes it more than a, well, on this it doesn't have relays like that. Basically, it would be in line with something that, you know, informing the game that there's more than one player selected. Okay, so it's pretty simple. It's not a super complex stepper unit, but they're all pretty similar. Now this one kind of looks completely different, but it's really the same thing. It just moves one way and then moves back the other way. This one just happens to be square. It's just what they were trying to accomplish with it and what they needed traces for. You see on this one the traces elongate so that they kind of hold. So you know, if you've got if you start with all of the little fingers, see all these are connected together. It's just one metal piece. Okay. So whenever it starts in its first position, all of those are on one track. And then once it moves up one step, now you've connected another thing. And then once it moves up another step, now all of them are, 3 things are connected. Blah, 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 blah. So one of those literally just turns on the lights. Just that one little light, just to inform you of how many people are playing the game. And then the other one, I guess, would be used as some kind of circuitry to help it actually select the 4, you know, instead of just stopping at 1 player and then whenever it advances to the next ball, moving up four positions on the ball count unit up to the first player, ball 2. It, depending on which one of these is connected, it would maybe stop at the 2nd player and then move up 3 balls to the ball 2 on the 1st player. We'll talk about all that whenever we look at the ball count unit. But anyway, so I'm just going to clean it, put it back together, put some synthetic grease on it, and we'll see if it looks any better. All right, folks, 5.7 ohms. I've got this rigged up to show you that I'm checking this coil. So on the back of this stepper unit, there are 2 coils. One moves the wheel one way, one resets it. So again, it's the coin unit. So the reason I'm checking that, I'm going to move this, I showed you that it was 5.7 ohms, is because look how it looks. It looks like it's burnt up, but I'm not sure that it is burnt up. It has a brass sleeve, which is different than all the other ones that I'm seeing. I think this may just be that the wrapper was black. I don't know. Well, I guess the color of the wire shows that it was overheated. Because you know it should be more of like a. You can see a little bit of the wrapper on the wire on the lock. It's still copper colored. So I don't know. Maybe it has overheated, but I just checked it and it's 5.7 ohms, which is kind of. That's about what you usually get. That may actually be what something like that would measure. This one will be a little different, but let's see what it's telling us. Yeah, see that one's 7.6. So usually when these are bad, they're either open, where they have no resistance between the 2 lugs, or they're shorted, where they have 0 resistance between the lugs. This one kind of measures about like you would expect it to measure, so it may still be fine, and the heat may have been where it locked on at some point, and they eventually turned it off or it blew a fuse before it completely melted the coil. So we'll keep our eye on that and see if if this unit doesn't work right, where you can't start more than a 1-player game. or you're always in a 3-player game or whatever, you know, we'll keep that in mind for later on where we're actually fixing it. If we look at the stepper unit, what that coil does is, yeah, it steps up. So if that coil doesn't work, you won't be able to start more than a 1-player game, because the reset one is fine. So we'll see. We'll keep our eye on that. But it kind of looked like it's testing the same. However, we're in circuit. So depending on how the cabinet's wired and where the wires are going, you may get 5.7 ohms resistance between those two lugs, but it's not measuring the resistance of the wire because it's melted and broken in half or something. It's measuring the resistance from that lug down the red wire, over to here, through a switch, through another coil, and then back over to the black wire. So it could be that I'm just measuring the resistance of the circuit and not the actual coil. But we'll keep our eye on that. So this other one here, oh, another thing, I should show you this zero position switch, they call it. Or I think that's what they call it. No, they don't. Or something's wrong. Let's see. So you got this switch here, and it is connected at the moment. Yeah, it's going to be a zero position switch. So that switch is connected if you're reset. No, it's not the zero position switch. So we're at position 1, which is 1 player. So when you hit the start button, it starts a 1-player game. When you hit it a second time, it pulls this in. Now you've got a 2-player game. When you hit it the third time, it pulls this in. Now you've got a 3-player game. Now see this little stud there? So now I hit it again. I'm gonna start a 4-player game, and it opens that switch. Just barely. If you listen, you can hear the metal tapping against it whenever I tap it. So what you're hearing is the blades are not quite touching each other, but when I tap it, the metal's slapping together. So you can use that sometimes to tell if one's actually open. If you tap one that is actually closed, it doesn't do that. Okay? So 2nd player, 3rd player, 4th player, that switch opens so that if you hit the start button a 5th time, you can't start a 5-player game. That switch opens so that it won't subtract a credit from you. So all that switch's purpose is just to make sure you don't lose a quarter. So that's that. So we'll put it all back in together. Put it all back where it goes. This one I already did. It's got similar stuff. Basically, we just cleaned the rivets, got it nice and shiny. Make sure to clean the contacts on the spider too. And it is stepping up beautifully. Look at that, just how it ought to be. So if you get them moving smoothly like that and everything's clean where it looks like it's making good contact, they're probably going to work for you. Okay, so I took the Jones plugs out and cleaned those. Basically, they're just little pins. Just shined them up a little bit, again with the sandpaper. You could do yours with your Scotch-Brite pad. And then the one thing that's bothering me is that none of these relays are labeled, which is going to be a pain whenever we go to troubleshoot it later. So I think just to make that easier, I'm going to go ahead and label them. Now you might say, how in the world are you going to figure out which one's which? It's really not as hard as you think. I'll show you how you can do it. If you look on this relay, there is a yellow and brown wire running to the actual coil, and then the other side has a red. It looks like just a red wire. Okay, maybe red with a brown stripe. Where's my flashlight? Let's flash it with the light. That's just red. Okay. So it's a yellow and brown wire with a red wire going to the other side. But then if you look, the red wire goes to all 5 of these lugs. But if you look over here, you have one with a brown and white wire and a blue and white wire. And the brown and white wire goes to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 relays. And if you look here, you've got a black and red wire that goes to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 relays. And then you've got a couple here that are by themselves. And then you have this one here that I know for a fact is the delay relay because of the light bulb. So I wrote delay on the board there, right? I looked online just trying to see if I could find somebody that had a scan of that label or something. I couldn't find them. Another thing, we think it's exactly the same as another 4-player game, but do we really know that? Who knows? They may have changed something, you know. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look in the schematics and find, for instance, we have this one left that says double bonus, so that's the double bonus relay. And whichever one it's tied to, the one wire will be connected to 5 more, usually right next to it on the schematics. So really you've got 1 bank, 2 banks, 3 banks, and then 3 odd ones. No big deal. This one's probably the game over relay because it's a latching relay. Latch and reset. But we'll confirm that. It's the only one like that though. So let's look in the schematics and see if I can figure it out. Okay, so here's the schematics on the computer. You see the double bonus relay. That's the coil of the double bonus relay, and you see that it's connected on the bottom to a bunch of other ones which are connected to a red wire. So one is the 1,000-point relay, but that's in the back box. One is the 500-point relay. That's not in the back box. That's in the bottom, I believe, the double bonus relay. So you just kind of got to go through it. What I need to do is look at all of the ones that the red wire connects to. The top center lane relay, well, that's going to be on the bottom of the playfield. The left extra ball target relay, also probably on the bottom of the playfield. The right extra ball target relay, also probably on the bottom of the playfield. The extra ball target light relay, probably on the bottom of the playfield. But we've got the double bonus relay, the 500-point relay, and then there's more if I look around. So whenever you find one that you think it might be, you just need to look at the wire on the other side. So there's a white and blue wire going to one side and a red wire going to another side of whatever the 500-point relay is. So white and blue wire. So white and blue wire running to one side and the red wire running the other side. So it's the one right next to it. So I'm just going to write writing relay is redundant, so we'll just write 500 point. So that's the 500-point relay. Okay. And I'll just go through. It looks crazy, but there's like, 15 of them left or something. So I'll mark them down real quick. It won't take me long. And then that'll save us some trouble when we go to troubleshoot it. And it'll save, down the road, maybe somebody else works on this and they don't have quite as good of a grasp on it. And they're really looking for that 500-point relay. Well, I just made it real easy for them. That's the 500-point relay. All right, so I labeled them all. These ones were all listed in order on the schematics. They were right next to each other. So the coin, the second coin chute, the third coin chute, the credit, the lock, the famous reset relay, the delay relay, the out-hole relay, the ball index relay, the tilt relay, the extra ball relay, the bonus score relay, the bonus zero relay, and the player reset relay. Not to be confused with the reset relay. Okay? And then we have the double bonus relay, which was holding on to its paper, the 500-point relay, the extra ball target light relay, the left extra ball target relay, and the right extra ball target relay. And this is the game over relay. Easy peasy, no problema. Okay, There's some in the back box too, but they're still labeled. There's some on the bottom of the playfield and they're still labeled. And you might wonder, why are certain relays in certain places and how could I tell just by looking at it? Well, once you work on them a while, they're all kind of in similar places usually, but they do make a sense why they are where they are. So like the 10-point relay is in the back. Now why is that? It's because a target or something sends a pulse to the 10-point relay. It needs to move the score reels. So it's in the back box right next to the score reels. Okay? But if that's true, if the 10-point relay, the 100-point relay, and the 1,000-point relay or in the back box, why isn't the 500-point relay in the back box? It's because the 10-point relay, the 100-point relay, and the 1,000-point relay pulse the score reels. So they move at one time for 10 points, 100 points, or 1,000 points. The 500-point relay, you might say, oh, well, it moves at 5 times. Bump, 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 bump. That's not how it works. What it does is it runs through one of these cams on the score motor. So if the 500-point relay pulls in, it starts the score motor. One of the switches on the 500-point relay starts the score motor. And so it starts turning. And then the 500-point relay holds itself in through a switch on the score motor and a switch on itself. Okay? And this starts turning around. Well, it has other switches on it that hold in. And then this cam, or, you know, maybe this cam, I think it's this one, whichever cam that has little bumps on it, has 5 little bumps on it, it turns around, maybe the score motor turns half a turn and gets back to its home position. Well, as it turns that half turn, the switch on that one cam goes over those 5 bumps. So when it goes over the bump, it connects the switch that we were just cleaning, right? And it's connected to power through a couple switches on the 500-point relay, and now through that one, which just got connected to the 100-point relay. So it pulls in the 100-point relay, which turns the 100-point reel one time, and the score motor keeps turning, right? Well, when the score motor, whenever the 100-point relay, the 100-point reel pulls in, it opens a switch that kills the 100-point relay, turns it off. But the 500-point relay is still holding itself on through a switch on the cam, the home cam, the index cam, and then it hits the second bump, and it does it again. So the 500-point relay is still on. The switch sends the power from the 500-point relay up to the 100-point relay, pulls in the 100-point relay, which makes the wheel turn one more time, and it hits 5 bumps. Bump, 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 bump. And then it gets back to the home position. So when it gets to the home position, a switch opens, or it may be on one of the other cams, whatever. They may have it timed where right after the 5 bumps, immediately after that, there is the switch that holds on the 500-point relay opens up immediately after that and turns it off, or whatever. You know, they figured it all out, right? But after it does the 5 bumps, it gets to a point where a switch opens on the score motor that kills the 500-point relay. It no longer has power to it because that switch is open. Okay, which means that the 5 bumps can no longer turn on the 100-point relay until it all happens again. Okay, so then what happens? Okay, so the score motor gets back to its home spot and it stops because the switch opens up and the 500-point relay is already turned off, so it's not holding it on anymore. And the switch on here that holds itself on, it's not holding on, so it's not turning it anymore, and nothing else is turning it on. Okay, so then maybe you hit I don't know what else you would need it for. Maybe you hit the out hole relay or something. Well, I won't use that one because it'll be the end of the ball. You hit in the manual, it shows you all the ones that can turn it on. You hit the bonus advance relay or whatever it is that you need to turn this for again. So you hit some other feature that needs the score motor to turn, so it starts turning. Well, it's going to hit those 5 bumps again, so it's going to give you 500 points, right? No, because the 500-point relay is not on. So it's going to turn, and that switch will still connect on the 5 bumps, but it won't do anything. That switch basically doesn't even need to be there this time around, but we're not taking it loose, right? That switch is inoperable now because the 500-point relay is not pulled in. So you have a situation where all of these switches are not used at once, but they all turn on and off and everything. But it depends on which one of these relays is in, which one of these actually counts. So once you start understanding how it works, it's so freaking cool. It's like a huge computer that they could add things to easily, you know. So they could put they can make a bell ring 5 times by using that same cam. So they've got something that'll tap the switch together 5 times. So if you want something to happen 5 times, like the bonus to go up 5 steps, well then you make a relay come on, start the score motor, the switches on that relay hold in, and then it hits the 5 bumps, which are connected to the bonus unit, and it moves it up 5 positions. There's also one that's 3 sometimes, where it has 3 impulses or whatever. And you know, it just basically the only thing that limited them was the bill of materials, how much it cost, and their imagination. So they came up with just all kinds of creative, cool stuff that they could put into a machine. So the score motor gives it like the animation that it needs to make stuff happen. All right, so I think we've about done the bottom panel. We've still got the playfield to do. We've still got the back box to do. But I think this is a good stopping point. So make sure to give us a thumbs up. Leave your comments down below about what you think. Tell me about your Scotch-Brite pads. There you go, folks. So we appreciate it. We also appreciate everybody that's been calling us, asking us to buy used parts out of other people's games that are fully working and in their house, and they've had for 20 years, and the grandkids play all the time. I don't think they're going to sell you the part out of it. But we'd like to thank everybody that's been using our Amazon links. If you don't know about that, if you go to our website, lionsarcade.com, we have a parts page now. And on our parts page, we have lists of some of our stuff that we use in our games. Like we always use this, synthetic grease. Boy, I pitch this stuff a lot, don't I? It's because I'm always using it, so it's easy to show you what I'm talking about. So this is what we put on the stepper units. You can get stuff like this probably at your local hardware store, but you can also order it online, and we have links to stuff like this that we use in our games on our website. Go check it out. Now, some of those links take you to Amazon. People keep saying the links don't work, but we're selling all kinds of stuff off of there, so they must work. Whenever I go there, they work. It might be if you're not in the United States or you're in certain territories, maybe it doesn't work. But in the United States, it works fine, so I don't know. I don't know, people. And I hate to be like that. But there's a link down below, too, to Amazon in different countries, you know. But the truth is, the vast majority of the people that watch our channel are from the United States. Now, there are a lot of people in England and Australia that also watch us. We see y'all out there, and other countries, too. But mainly, it's the United States, England, Australia, Canada. We did a whole video about this a while back. So the links, they definitely work in the United States. Maybe they don't work right in every location, so I apologize for that. But yeah, if you go to our parts page, you can check that out. If you go to Amazon through one of those links, or one of the links down below to your specific country, like there's an English one there, there is I guess let's just say a UK one there. I think there's an Australian one down there. Down there, get it? So you can click that. If you go to Amazon and you buy anything after clicking the link or clicking one of our links on our website to go look at the stuff that we have for sale, anything else you buy on Amazon, like if you go there and buy toothpaste, they send us a tip for you doing that. It's usually like 3% of the purchases or something like that. So we appreciate everybody that's been doing that. We also on that parts page have like some of our t-shirts and stuff. If you don't have one of those yet, be like Kelly. Kelly keeps sending us pictures, literally. Kelly sent us a picture of him in front of the Atlantic Ocean wearing our shirt. And then a couple weeks later, he sent us a picture of him in a boat on the Pacific Ocean wearing our shirt. Kelly gets around. So we appreciate that. You can go check that out if you want. And we also have our arcade games, pinball machines, and jukeboxes that we have for sale up on our website. Go check that out. And last but not least, don't forget to check out my brother Donnie. Literally, my brother. He has a channel here on YouTube. If you like watching us work on these old pinball machines, you may enjoy watching us work on old buildings. We've got a couple old buildings that we bought in a town near here that we are fixing up and trying to help revitalize their downtown area. So check that out. Boy, I like this game. I like the vibe of it. It's got the clown, which, you know, can kind of be creepy, and it's the old clown. But we're calling him Happy so he doesn't get creepy. We got the story of where this thing came from the owner. He came in a little earlier. I talked to him. And I'll tell you the story on the video whenever we actually play it. We'll do a gameplay video of this one because I haven't done one yet. But I'll tell you the story of where it came from, and it's got a pretty interesting little history behind it. But here's the secret. They've all got an interesting history behind them. So leave your comments below, and we'll see you on the next video. I hope you enjoyed it.